An exciting Nissan? Could it be? Hi guys, Eric here and welcome back to my channel. Today we will be having a look at this brand new Nissan Magnite 1.0T turbo Accenta Plus CVT. This is an extremely important car for Nissan and it really deserves to sell. Allow me to explain why. If you live in the Western Cape and you have an original car in good condition you would like me to review, please get in touch. There's an email address in the description box below. Considering that the A-segment SUV is a rather new class of vehicle, there isn't much history to the Magnite. The word Magnite is actually an amalgamation of the words magnetic and ignite. It is based on the same platform as the Renault Triber and upcoming Renault Kiger. It was initially supposed to be the Datsun flagship SUV, but because the Datsun sub-brand is to be discontinued, the project was moved to Nissan. So, that Datsun grille isn't a coincidence. This is technically the successor to the Datsun Cross. And it can't be ignored. At least looks-wise, the Magnite is much more attractive and aggressive than the Cross, and personally, I prefer the Datsun grille to the Nissan grille. There is so much more to the Magnite though than its Datsun origins. I think that this might be the most attractive SUV in its segment. I really like the aggressive and hyper-modern front end, those thin headlight clusters, which is LED projectors on this top-spec model, and aforementioned massive Datsun-styled grille. Then there is the boomerang-shaped daytime running lights, which really reminds me of the new Peugeot 208. Come to think of it, the whole front end reminds me a bit of the equally quirky Toyota CHR and latest Nissan Juke. These 16-inch alloy wheels are standard across the range, and the wheel nut section also reminds me a bit of the Nissan 300ZXs. The rear light cluster design makes the back look wider than it is, giving the Magnite a butch look. There is also the silver color rear bumper that adds a new dimension to it. Also, unlike the Datsun Go, the Magnite comes as standard with 2 airbags, electronic stability control, ABS with electronic brake distribution, and a 4-star rating from Global NCAP. Then there is the powertrain, a 1-litre 3-cylinder turbo developing 74 kilowatt and 160 Nm of torque. It offers great fuel economy too, with the 5-speed manual returning a claimed 5 litres per 100 kilometers and the CVT 5.6. It is the same engine used in the Dacia Sandero, Renault Clio and Nissan Micra. All in all, a thoroughly youthful, safe, nippy and quirky little SUV. The quirky youthfulness extends into the interior as well. This cabin really speaks to me. It is different, it is interesting, it is practical, it is beautiful. I love this elongated hexagon that makes up the air vents and the thin silver strip that surrounds it. Then there is the honeycomb structured center dashboard piece that is made up out of skewed small Mercedes-Benz logos. At either side of this rather large piece of plastic, you find pretty shiny piano black plastic endings. The toggle switches for the hazards button, which is beautifully placed, the door lock unlock switch, as well as the rear demister is an absolute joy to operate. I love toggle switches. Then there is this intricate climate control panel that... Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's start at the beginning. The door panel is rather simplistic in its design, but it is suitably youthful. I am so happy to see fabric on these doors, especially woven fabric like you find on this car. I wish more manufacturers would do this. It wouldn't cost much more expensive as you can use the offcuts from the seats, yet it makes a big difference in the ambiance of the cabin. The interior door handle, which is made out of silver painted plastic, as well as this plastic trim piece by the door grab handle, also help to break the wall of black plastics a bit. There is even this interesting wavy effect on the speaker covers, which I quite enjoy. And the door pocket has a nice wide opening, although it must be said it is only average in size. Thankfully, you do have a nicely padded armrest for extra comfort while driving. The steering wheel looks great too. Its rim is wrapped in leather and accented by grey top stitching. I also adore the new Nissan logo. I just wish that it was made out of metal and not painted plastics. The steering mounted buttons that control the trip computer, the stereo unit, as well as the cruise control give excellent feedback and actually feel rather expensive. I even like the silver plastic trim that accents the steering wheel itself. It really adds another dimension. The stalks that control the wipers, the lights, as well as the indicators also are decently dampened and very clear to understand. Now this has to be mentioned. Digital dials, as standard, across the range. With crisp and clear graphics, well, not industry leading, it even has cute, smooth animations between the different menus. As standard, you get a tire pressure monitoring system as well as a full trip computer. I really like it. On either side of the screen, you have analog gauges that communicate fuel level as well as water temperature. I'm glad to see that at least Nissan values temperature information. Even these seats are beautiful. They are a mixture of two different textures of cloth, an interesting zigzag pattern on the seat backs, faux leather, as well as grey top stitching. Now they are a bit on the firm side, particularly at the back, but it has fantastic side bolstering. It almost feels as though it is hugging you. I am truly impressed by their design. Nissan really understands its target market for this car. Now for the infotainment system. It is a tablet-like arrangement like those you would get in older Mercedes-Benz models. Personally, I prefer a screen that is better integrated into the dash, but the fitment of this particular system is very well executed. The graphics might look a bit outdated, but the colors are vibrant as well as bright. It is also very responsive to my touch, and loading times between different menus are kept to a minimum. Now what makes this system really interesting is that it is integrated with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which means no more annoying USB cables. Hells to the yes. It even comes with touch-sensitive shortcut buttons, although I would much rather prefer physical buttons, as these buttons aren't nearly as responsive as the rest of the screen. That's not all, however, because you can stream music from your phone using Bluetooth, and it has a USB input. The 6-speaker sound system performs admirably and much better than some systems you find on its rivals. The climate control panel is yet another highlight for me. I love how the display is integrated into the dials, much like those you would get in the current generation Audi TT. The dials also feel really expensive and premium. The same can also be said about the toggle switches found in between said dials, as they provide great dampening. I just wish that they were made out of better material. Below the climate control panel, at least in this top spec model, you find a wireless charging port for your phone. Great for people who are addicted to their cell phones. Move your gaze downwards and you are rewarded with a start-stop button that is surrounded by shiny textured metal. It looks fantastic. Lastly, the center console is angled slightly towards the driver, much like older BMWs. This gives a great sense of involvement for the driver. I think it's a great idea. It isn't without its faults though. There is no soft touch plastics on the dash or the doors. You can't wind the windows up or down without having to actually start the car. And after driving, the car won't unlock itself. You have to do it manually using the lock and lock switch. Lastly, the infotainment screen as well as the digital dials are prone to reflections, which can make it difficult to read sometimes. When it comes to storage, this Magnite truly excels. You have access to a massive undampened glove box, 2 wide as well as deep front cup holders, a wireless charging station, a deep open storage compartment in front of the gear lever, and a small coin compartment integrated into the door's grab handle. Now, I was expecting to find a storage compartment underneath this cloth-wrapped, well-padded center armrest, which is in itself a fantastic feature, but it is fixed in place. Also, you don't get the biggest of door pockets. Still, more than enough storage for the average whippersnapper. The people in the back won't feel too shortchanged either. I'm sitting behind my own driving position, and at 179 centimeters, I have a decent amount of knee room and just enough headroom, which means that taller people might struggle with the latter. This can be said for most of its rivals too, however. I'm very happy to report that the rear passengers get their very own climate vents. Now, I believe this is because the Magnite is from India, where the heat is unbearable most of the year. Even though the South African climate is much more moderate, it is a great feature to have, particularly at this price point. Then there is the storage solutions for the rear passengers. You get 2 coin compartments in each door integrated into the door's grab handle, admittedly small door pockets that is at least big enough for a bottle, as well as pockets behind each front seat. That's not all, however. In this inexpensive entry-level SUV, rear passengers have their own cloth-wrapped, well-padded center armrest with 2 cup holders as well as another thin space good for a phone integrated into it. Fantastic. The doors also have the same fabric as those you would find in the front, and the window line is low enough that even children have a good view out. Neat. The rear seats fold almost completely flat in a 60-40 split. This makes way for quite a big and usable utility space. Even with the seats in place, however, the boot is a decent size of 336 litres. You even get 2 grocery hooks, but you don't have any tethering hooks, nor do you have a 12-volt socket. However, you do have a full-size spare wheel. Now, when folding the seats down, you do create a rather big ridge that hinders through loading. Also, there is quite a high load lip that makes lifting heavy things over it quite a struggle. But this is true for most of its rivals as well. So far, so impressive. How well does it perform out on the road? The test unit we have here is fitted with Nissan's CVT gearbox. It's almost like an automatic because you don't have a clutch pedal, but instead of a set amount of gears, you have a belt that runs along 2 pulleys, giving you virtually an infinite number of gears. Where an automatic transmission holds onto the gear and the revs fluctuate, a CVT holds onto part of a rev range and the speed fluctuates. I bring this up because personally I've never been a fan of CVT gearboxes. In cars of old, it would give you the impression that there's too much slip as well as a loss of power. In the Magnite, however, the gearbox is very well paired with the very refined turbocharged engine. That is because it can hold on to part of the rev range that has turbo present, which means that there's virtually no turbo lag. This makes this entry-level SUV feel rather brisk, particularly around town. The biggest ace up this Magnite sleeve, however, comes to light when you take it out onto the open road. I am so impressed by how well insulated this cabin is. The interior remains relatively quiet even on rougher surfaces. This makes a massive difference when you're traveling long distances. The only thing that would improve this experience is better lower back support from the seats and just a bit extra power when I want to overtake. However, I would always prefer a quiet cabin over a marginally more punchy engine. Out on the twisties, and this little Nissan holds its own. It's by no means a Porsche or a Jaguar, but the steering is direct, even if it is a bit on the light side. There is very little body lean in the corners, and there's a surprising amount of grip, even with these thin tires. The only thing that distracts a bit from this experience is a lack of feedback coming from the steering. Also, especially if you want to be more involved in the experience, a manual gearbox. Thankfully, there is a 5-speed manual option for both trim levels on the Magnite. And I haven't even gotten to the best part yet. Price. At 257,000 Rand, it isn't the cheapest car in its segment, but it definitely represents the best value. The Vitara Brezza comes in at 244,000, but you do sacrifice a very important safety feature, electronic stability control. You also don't have the niceties such as 16-inch alloy wheels, an 8-inch infotainment system with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, cruise control, and a 6-speaker sound system. This range topper comes in at 307,000 Rand. Included in the price is a 6-year 150,000 kilometer warranty, as well as a 3-year 30,000 kilometer service plan, making for astonishing value. Now, I don't know if you guys can tell, but I am truly impressed by this little Magnite. I adore good value, and knowing that Nissan backs this up by a very well designed and built cabin, excellent sound deadening, and individualistic looks, and this little Nissan deserves your consideration and, in my opinion, your money. Thank you so much for watching another one of my reviews. If you enjoyed it, please remember to give this video a thumbs up, as it makes the world of difference to me. Also, if you haven't already, remember to subscribe to my channel to get notified about my latest videos. I have loads more lined up for you guys, so stay tuned. If you're interested in some behind the scenes footage and maybe a peek into my personal life, be sure to follow me on my social media platforms. Links in the description box below. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Hope to see you soon. Until next time, bye.